Derek Fox, it's puts the ball in the air, it's a ra-ra up and under. Eddie Waring, classic line, but up and under, Dave. A modern play still, or not used as much? Tactics changed slightly. What's your opinion on the up and under?
Keith and Dave talk all things rugby league on the Dockhouse Rugby Show, with news, match reviews and special guests from the world of rugby league. Also available in audio format as the Dockhouse Rugby Pod.
Well, it has changed a lot in recent years. If we think back to the older generation, when they played in 50s, 60s, 70s, pre-Super League, when it was a winter game,
Yep.
You had great big heavy rugby league balls. They started to get lighter. They're much lighter now than they used to be.
Big thick leather cases, weren't they?
You play in the winter, that gets wet. Imagine how heavy that ball used to be. So the up and under in winter rugby was simply that. You kicked it up as high as you could, and the other fullback had to get under it. You're catching a wet, heavy ball. It's blowing around in the wind. You've got hail, you've got sleet, you've got snow. It's not very nice trying to catch it. So it was very difficult. You were hoping that you could kick it up there and they'd drop the ball. You'd have a scrum.
Yeah.
So that's how it was used years ago, but it has changed in the modern game.
You've been terrorising fullbacks and wingers with your spiral bombs that sometimes look like they're shot out of a cannon. I'm sure there's kids out there trying to perfect the Matt Burton spiral.
The best range would be between the 40 and 50.
Comes back to Burton, who has a massive boot.
If you broke it down, what are the things important in putting up a good spiral bomb?
I think the first thing would be your ball catch and the positioning of it. The less you can adjust it, the better. So you don't have to think about it as much, and it's just sort of a natural flow.
Most definitely. Why is it so effective now then, do you think?
I think it's still used, probably in two different ways. So first of all, a team will be quite deep in their own half. They'll kick for yardage, but they'll use a modern type of up and under. Mm-hmm. It's really just to get hang time. So if you can kick it high and 40, 50 metres, the longer the ball hangs in the air, the more time your defence has to get up, to get in the face of the fullback or the wingers who are trying to return that ball. So it's really, for yardage, really, in that instance. But it's used a lot in the game, and we spoke on a previous episode about the grubber kick when you're close to the line. It's really been superseded by an up and under or a high kick into the corner. And in that instance, it's been used as an attacking kick. Yeah. So you get to the fifth play, you've not brought the team down, you kick it high. My issue with that then is it becomes a bit of a lottery. So is that an effective play? Well, I'm sure it is an effective play, but is it visually correct that you're just kicking up there for a lottery? Or is it a highly skilled play? Because that kicker is aiming to bring it in 2 or 3 metres from the touchline, about a metre off the try line, and they have to be pinpoint with that. And then it's simply who can jump the highest to grab that ball. It's difficult, very difficult to defend. If you don't get the kick right, it goes beyond the try line. They catch it. It's a 7-tackle set.
Yeah.
So is that a negative that a lot of the teams play the same way with that attacking kick? Or is it a positive because it's highly skilled to drop that ball exactly where you want it?
I'm pretty sure that the kickers in the sport must practice that.
So it's facing more upright. I think most people sort of hold it flat, but I feel like if I can hold it upright and then kick under it, it's going to go a lot higher.
It's a Burton bomb. Some bloke working at NASA. So something just lobbed on the radar.
To put that ball into, like you say, towards the corner, towards the touchline, this side of the try line, and then the attacking player can contest in the air for that ball.
You could almost draw a 5-metre box on the floor where you want that ball, and the kickers now are exceptional at kicking it into that box. Kicking it high, letting it drop into that box. You're normally playing in summer now, so you don't have the same weather conditions normally.
Is it kick it up and it'll come down with snow on it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what everyone tried to do years ago, where now you're trying to get it pinpoint. So you're right. I think the skill set of the kicker is exceptional. My issue is more around, is it a negative play? The last play, all the teams play the same way. They all go for that up and under. We spoke about the grubber kick. I like to mix it up a little bit with a short kicking game. Trying to thread it through some defenders, or maybe a little chip, not just to go to the corner with a high kick and expect a lottery. So a
yardage play, you'd say, Dave, as well.
A yardage play, it's useful. It's quite a defensive tactic just to give yourself time to get up there and get in the face. The attacking play can become a lottery, so I'm a bit mixed on that as a play. I don't mind it, but I'd like to see it mixed up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What about when attacking players, sometimes like we see like Theo Fage or the 6s and the 7s of any team, will do it as a crossfield kick to the corner within the 10 or 20 metre zone. The ball still gets put up high, but in that 5 metre box again.
Yeah.
Just got another version to the up and under, still an up and under, but this version is called the floater. Pretty much same idea as the up and under. Try and get a lot of height, and what we're trying to do here is make contact with the middle of the rugby ball with the same part of the foot. And what this will hopefully tend to do is make the ball give it a floating effect in the air. So it's a lot more harder for the person catching it to judge where the ball's actually coming down. Preferably done on a windy day, which will make it even harder. So yeah, same as the up and under. Contact with the middle of the ball, and we're trying to get that floating rotation going in through the air, so the ball comes down with a bit of movement. A lot more harder for the guy catching the ball, and also remembering to follow through, kick through the ball.
But very often it'll be used when you're trying to spread the defence. Most teams play with a narrow defence now to stop you coming through the middle. It can leave some space on the outside, but what they do very well is they scoot across. They jump across with the players. The ball's coming, they start to move across with the ball, and they use the touchline as an extra defender almost by pushing the player, the ball carrier, into that area. So one way to try and combat that is a crossfield kick, because you can get the ball there much more quickly, and the defence doesn't have time to crab across to defend it. So yeah, a lot of the players will use that tactic, like Theo Fage will use it to try and spread that defence. It's used effectively, often not quite as high because it's coming from further away. I mean, some of the great up and unders of the past. Remember the Challenge Cup final of 1996? Can you remember who the scrum half was on that day?
Scrum half there was Bobby Golding.
A famous up and unders that won the game.
The fifth tackle, Goulding again, launches a high one. Over Graham's head. Oh, it bounces awkwardly. He's lost the ball. And St Helens they're back again. Goulding again. Peppering Graham. The sun could be in his eyes. It's loose again. St Helens pick it up and did it for another try. On the fifth tackle, Goulding again with the same treatment for Nathan Graham. Oh, it's over that line again. The ball's loose. St Helens have scored again.
Absolutely peppered. Was it Nathan Graham?
Nathan Graham at full-back. He had a tough day, or a tough afternoon on that day. There's been other great players who've used the kicking game. You've mentioned earlier Peter Sterling, Wally Lewis.
Legend, yeah, Australian legends. Peter Sterling played it out in Australia, also played for Hull as well. His kicking game was absolutely phenomenal. Wally Lewis, again, he could put a ball up in the air, couldn't he?
He was at Wakefield
Graham
for a short
Eady
time.
played for Halifax. Challenge Cup winner, actually.
Most are half-backs, but you've mentioned in the past a forward, Lee Crooks, who was also a great kicker.
He was. The boy had a boot on him, didn't he? For a prop forward, normally you expect your kick. Nowadays, the kickers are wingers or centres or a full-back, scrum half maybe. But yeah, he was a prop forward and had that attacking flair and that kick to his game.
It's unusual to have a forward. It's normally a halves. Another half I used to like was Iceland Harris, the Welsh standoff.
Yeah.
He was great. Had a great kicking game also. So there's been a lot of players who've mastered that art, and it has evolved over the years. So the up and under, I'm interested to see what other people think. Is it overused? Is it visually effective for a viewer to watch that? Do they like seeing the challenge, or do you find it repetitive?
That was a great question to the viewers, and let's hope they get on board with it. Don't forget, after tonight's show, leave your views in our comments section. We'd love to hear from you.